Thank you very much. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Thanks, Marius, for organizing the event. It's my first time here, also Deb's first time, and we are so far enjoying it. Everything is going well, so thank you very much. And thanks a lot for the audience to joining us as well. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to integrate those AI tools. There are many out there into your creative production process and how to reduce costs and time production as well. So I will let Deb introduce herself first.
Hey, my name is Debora. People pronounce it Debora, but it's actually Debora. You can call me Deb anyways. I'm from Argentina. I'm based in Madrid, and I've been with Admiral Media leading the creative team for the past year and a half already. So I'm super happy to be here. Again, as Pablo said, this is my first time, and I hope you enjoy our presentation.
I'm Pablo, performance director, also coming from Argentina, based in Spain. I joined Admiral Media around 4 years ago, but I have been in the online marketing industry for over a decade so far. And to introduce a little bit Admiral Media, let me tell you what we do exactly. We like to define ourselves as a growth partner. So we basically cover all these 4 services: performance marketing, app store optimization, conversion rate optimization, and of course creative production, which is what we are going to deep dive in today. And because we are also covering AI topics and AI tools, we wanted to introduce our Admiral Media with an AI-generated video, which literally took less than 5 minutes. And it's a 20-second video, so let's go for it.
Literally 5 minutes.
And hopefully we can also do this magic with our ads, right? So, as I said before, this will be the topic for today: how to become more efficient and effective by introducing and integrating AI tools into the creative production process. And if you're probably involved somehow with the creative production process, you will probably experience some of these challenges. So high production costs, high turnaround times as well. So producing creatives takes time, especially at scale. There are many turnaround times, slow turnaround times when we are getting, especially when we are getting many feedback rounds and involving different teams within the company: the ASO team, the UA team, of course the creative team, and also different stakeholders. I've heard in the last 2 presentations ad fatigue. This is something that you probably heard about in the past, and it's there, it's real, right? So one of the big challenges is maintaining ad effectiveness as well, to fight ad fatigue back. And also yesterday I heard 2 presentations talking about translations and localizations as well. Definitely this is a big challenge, and there are many AI tools that help you and also us. I will share a few slides as well, and Debora will do so as well, to tackle and see how we overcome those challenges. So Deb, the stage is yours. Deb will run you through the storybeat case and explain how we got to reduce 50% of the production time.
Yes, we have this client that's called Storybeat. They're open to let us test with AI tools when it comes to creatives. So here we mentioned that we cut by 50% the production time, but depending on the type of iteration, and just like Peter mentioned a while ago, you can go different ways when you're talking about creative strategy. You can test different angles, different approaches, different insights to address different parts of the audience, or you can stay focused on choosing or picking up your best performing ad and thinking about the iterations that are going to boost the performance of that ad and are going to keep it running for longer time to prolong the lifespan of that ad. So in some cases, as I said, it reduced by 50% the time of production, but in some other cases, depending again on the iteration, it went up to 80%. So before I go ahead and share which are the tools and the process and the methods, I want to show you the work that we made. I'm going to play these examples. These are very short. This is the first original ad. So we identified that this was one of the top performing ads for Storybeat. We realized that it could have something to do with the color palette, the fact that we were sharing something that an influencer might be sharing from their holidays, and we thought, which are the opportunities that we have to improve this creative? So we also realized that there are a few elements on the iterations that I will show. These are not the only ones that we made for this specific test, but I just brought up these ones because these are the most relevant. The second example, I'm just going to play it and then explain. Impactful subtitles, words centered in the middle of the ad, on beat with the music. This is something that we realized that was working well in other industries, in other verticals, so we wanted to test it out and see how it performed here for this client. Let's check the next iteration. This ad is, again, replicating images from the same place. It's obviously Greece. But in this case, it's focusing more on people. It's showing more faces. The colors are much more vibrant. And you might see that there are some tweaks in the faces and stuff like that. But as you can see, it's an ad with AI-generated footage. All the ad was AI-generated footage. And then the last option, which is obviously using a creator, but in this case, it's not an actual creator. It's an AI avatar. This was a very early stage of AI-generated avatars. Let me clarify that. But yeah, these are some of the iterations that we made. For this test, we made around 6 iterations, which is actually aligned with what Peter was saying, the winning formula. You need to have like a super advanced iteration and some other a bit more basic. In this case, the subtitles one would be the basic iteration. So jumping into what are the things that we can do with AI, these are some of the tools that we've been testing, and these are some of the tools that we're currently using in our process. I'm not going to read everything step by step, just clarifying, just clarifying that when we say something about automated translations, we don't mean that we are going to pick those translations and use them just like they are. We are going to use that for localization. We are going to do some social listening to understand if the language is properly used with our target audience in the place that we're trying to localize our ads for. There are tools that can help us with that, like ChatGPT, DeepL, and stuff like that. Hook iterations. We are all familiar with ChatGPT today. We know that we can make 1 million hook iterations, but in this case, we're not just creating the hooks, but we are also bulk editing. So in some cases, with one of the tests that we made like in half an hour, 50 iterations for the hook, which is, again, one of the most important parts to understand if that ad or if the wording is correct to be relatable to our audience. Also, professional voiceovers. In the past, we needed to hire locutor? Professional speaker, sorry. And now we can also include voiceovers on our creatives, and that wasn't something that was possible like until 2 years ago. You needed to reach out to somebody to get that recording for you. Creators, avatars, you just saw the example. Again, that was the very early stages of AI-generated avatars. Cinematic images. The images that you saw were from the first early stages of Runway, which is one of the tools that we use. Runway has just released an update, and we are crazy about it, and we want to test it, but it's not ready yet for everyone to test. Face swaps, that's super interesting because it also allows us to test different features on the speakers. We can make a face swap. We can test different skin colors, expressions, different things on creatives, and see which is the best character for us for the upcoming sessions when we are producing new batches. Generative fill, it might sound like might not be that useful, but when you're trying to repurpose content in the case of vertical content, and for instance, you receive a content from a creator, a raw material from a creator, the creators are always delivering content in a vertical way. But if you give some specific guidelines to the creator and you let them know that you're gonna you need their actions to be within the frame, then with generative fill, you can repurpose that content into other formats, so you can use that creative in different placements. So that's also another way that you have to use AI in creative. And last but not least, audience analysis and ideation. We are really focused on understanding our audience and the ideation process. But when you're working with AI, if you teach AI who is the audience that you're talking to, the goal that you have, the characteristics of your app or your game, this can be a great first step to start the ideation process. So yeah, these are some of the tools that we use. And this is a tool that I wanted to share because this is a much more new tool. Let's.
This is actually a gaming-oriented tool, and it is fully AI generated. Of course, you need to provide the tool with
the
script and also the gameplay, but then the avatar and how it displays and uses the information that you add to the tool is fully automated and AI generated.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is that the creators, the AI GC instead of UGC, it's much more organic, and the lip sync to what the prompt that you're giving the tool, the script that you're providing the tool, it's much more organic and it looks much more realistic than the first example that I showed. So here's a little time savings chart that we prepared when we worked on this test with StoryBeat. I'm not going to go deep into each part of the chart. I'm just going to mention something that it's, to me, still super important. Even though we have these tools, I'm going to pick up the polished subtitle example. We tried to calculate this in case we were. What happens if we try to make some polished subtitles for an ad that's around 20 seconds? If we need to work on the style and the wording and to match every part of the speech or the subtitles to be on beat and have specific style or color whenever the words are pronounced, it would take around 30 minutes. It's not a hassle for a motion designer. It's not something impossible. It's not going to take all day. But if we're going to be using an AI tool, we can triple that production. And in 30 minutes, instead of having just one single ad with polished subtitles, we can have 3. And I'm saying 3 because it could be even more. It could be like around 5 or 6, depending on the time that the tool is going to take to process the subtitles. But something that's quite comforting for all of us, I think, is that humans are still necessary. So in 30 minutes, you can have up to 3 20 seconds ad with polished subtitles, with human intervention, making sure that AI is not messing up your script, that you have the right grammar, that you have the right spelling, and that everything is going to be working fine. So yeah, I think this is a really interesting thing. These are basic tasks, and this is the time that it might take in a manual, traditional time. And that's the time those are the results that we could get, and these are the time that it would take. No, sorry, average. This is the manual production time. Those are the results that you would get, and this is the deliverables. Sorry,
like the deliverables with without AI tools and deliverables with AI tools, basically, and how much productive you can become.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, these are the results that we got when it comes to production. And this helped us to produce more at less cost for our clients and to be able to deliver even more creatives for testing stages to our UA team. So speaking about UA.
And talking about a few numbers, Deb said before that we produced a few creatives for the first batch for this client, and we were able to reduce the cost per install by 12%. And you can infer already that the conversion rate from install to trial also went up and improved, because we also improved the cost per trial by 44%, which is a huge and massive improvement there. However, the conversion rate from trial to paid remained stable, meaning that those paying users were acquired at the same ratio. And of course, it had an impact, a positive impact in ROAS afterwards, right? So going to the next slide. The question remains still, Deb, how can we integrate AI tools into the creative production process?
It's simple. No, not really. You need to understand, first of all, as a creative team, we try to be super connected to our UA teams, understand which are the things that they want to test, which are the things that are outperforming, and which are the iterations and variations that we want to show our audience and see what's going to be working best. You need to deeply understand the creative's anatomy to understand also which are the opportunities that you have. You've seen that we work with a lot of tools, and all of these tools can help us change things and make variations in many parts of the creatives. But the most important part is to have a dedicated AI team. We do have a few people on the team that are constantly looking for new tools, trying to learn any changes, being updated basically, because tools keep changing all the time. Even today you have a feature, but tomorrow you might not have that feature anymore. So yeah, that's super important. It hasn't all been a bed of roses. We've had our ups and downs. AI can go really crazy. Super crazy. This was supposed to be this guy, Pablo. But
this is actually a picture of myself, yes. And I hope I'm a better dancer than what I look like there. You will prove me right or wrong actually in 2 days
he looks like
after
Elaine from Seinfeld dancing, like kind of going crazy. So yeah, it's not a learning curve. It's more like a roller coaster. Once you think you're getting there, you can just go down again, because there's a new tool that you need to start learning again. You need to get to become an expert on how to prompt that tool, the basic prompts, then the advanced prompts. Then, as I said before, maybe there's a function that you're relying on to make some sort of iteration, but then that function is gone, and you need to find a new tool that doesn't work exactly the same, and you need to learn again. So in this imaginary timelines for AI mastery, we never got to the top, and I don't know if we ever will. We're hoping for it, and we have the team for it and the eager, but we'll see. We'll see where AI takes us. So I'm not going to stop a long time here, because Peter already mentioned which are the important parts of an ad, and this is how we match understanding the AI tools with this breakdown of how we can onboard an ad. You need to define what's the ad type that you're going to be working. If it's a UGC, you can have a creator, but then you can intervene that with face swap, or maybe you can make some translations with an actual creator. Or you can not even involve the creator and have an AI avatar. Or you can have a traditional ad, but instead of using real footage, you can generate your own footage using Midjourney, Runway, Kyber, any type of animation, AI animation tools. And the same with the rest of the creative. You just need to know what's the part that you're going to be testing and what you want to test. So before giving the mic back to Pablo, I want to show one last example of, this is something that we made For a client, what I just showed you, it's something for a non-gaming app, but this is an example that I wanted to show you for gaming. Super basic, but I think it's interesting for us to understand what's going to be more relatable to the audience. Original ad. Who doesn't like puppies, right? What if we test another type of image? What if I want to know if my audience is more related to girls laying on the beach or architecture or bird watching, whatever? I think that's information that's relevant for us as advertisers, but it's always interesting to share this information with product teams because that can even give you insights on how to pivot maybe a batch of images for your puzzle by numbers.
Focus and complete the puzzle in record time. You can choose from high-quality images to challenge your problem-solving skills. Download now.
Again, you can add a voiceover to give some context to the user. Maybe instead of just showing some part of the gameplay, you can give, even if it's voiceover or AI-generated subtitles, anything that can make the ad more relatable and the game more relatable to the audience. In this case, we chose something related to focus and completing and being more competitive with themselves. But we can also talk about relax, completing some puzzles, or find out what's the final image. There are a lot of options that are going to depend on which is the insight and the angle that you want to approach. And you can test everything, even if it's voiceover or subtitles. You don't need to have storytelling behind it. Just using AI is going to help you test it.
Focus and complete the puzzle in record time. You can choose from high-quality images to challenge your problem-solving skills. Download now.
Thank you, fake girl. She's also fake. There's people that's going to be more, that's going to feel more impact if they see a face. So maybe instead of just testing voice, we can add a face with an AI-generated avatar. So yeah, those are the iterations that we came up with for this event. So you could see that we can apply that to anything. It doesn't need to be specifically non-gaming apps.
And yeah, moving to the next slide. If you remember the challenges slide, the last part was the localization and translation. And I remember 2 talks from yesterday, actually, from Walt and Alpacates as well. So there are many apps out there that are trying to overcome those challenges when it comes to localizing or translating content. So we faced this specific situation for a client where we were investing in the US and we wanted to enter the French market, right? So we had in the US some UGC stuff running with its own metrics in the US market. And then we also gathered or hired a few content producers to get some content for the French market. And so the main challenges in this case were the manual translations and also the resources limitations, right? So we didn't have anyone in the team speaking French in particular back then. So we basically used ChatGPT for translations, text translation. And then we also used HeyGen for lip syncing and audio translation. So basically to adapt the video of the best performing video from the US market into the French market, right? So the results were quite obvious. We have been trying to showcase this in the previous slides. So faster deployment because we were able to reduce the production times and also an improved engagement. And if we move to the next slides as well, you will see also a similar table that speaks by itself, similar to the previous case that we showed. In this case, we launched both ads, the French creator and the AI translated creative into the same ad set. And the AI one, which was the best performing in the US market, was also the best performing in the French market. right? So basically it took over almost 80% of the spend, and it also drove a cheaper CPI. So as a main takeaway, if we go into the next slide, Deb, I want to encourage you to integrate those AI tools that are out there. They are not all of them useful, of course, but you will need to prove if they're useful for your cases, right? Again, it's plenty of AI tools out there. So I encourage you to integrate them, to test them, integrate them into your production, testing and scaling creative production process. Because the tools are there, right? You either take it or you leave them, but if you leave them, then you will run from behind if you want to chase your competitors. So we are also offering limited free audit, creative free audit. So feel free to scan the QR code in this case. The process is pretty much straightforward. You share the assets with me and Deb. We will analyze them. We will prepare a presentation, and then we can hop on a 30-minute call from next week onwards. Once we are back in Spain. And thank you very much, everyone. You have been an amazing audience. Thank you, Deb, as well. So we are ready for Q&As.
Thank you for a great presentation. Yeah, we have, of course, a lot of questions. How does AI-generated performance compare to handcrafted? How big is the sample you have tested?
So in the examples, actually in the last slide, it was already there, right? So in that particular case, it worked better. It doesn't mean that always AI-generated stuff works better than handcrafted, right? It means that you are able to produce things faster at a cheaper cost, and this will give you basically better insights and also resources allocation, right? So in the end, it depends on what you are iterating, what your production roadmap looks like. And if you nail it, then you can, by nail, if you identify what road you need to take in terms of production, then you will be able to use AI tools to produce them faster and cheaper.
And did you because probably you did create a lot of different tests for different clients, did you kind of, saw some, okay, there are some cases that we kind of see where in general it's more likely that such AI-based creatives work, and the cases where it's actually way more challenging either to produce or test it or something?
It is more likely to improve performance just because you're getting more creatives, right? If you take 10 creatives, because you get to deliver 10 creatives coming from AI versus 2 from handcrafted or the manual design team, then the chances of those 10 overcoming the other 2 are higher, right? So statistically, yes, the chances are higher.
And the next question is which AI are you using for video creatives and for avatars, for characters?
For avatars, we are using Creatify. We are testing now one that's called Arcats that works pretty good. There are some pros and cons to every tool. Sometimes it comes to pricing, sometimes it comes to the credit. AI tools, you have credits and you have some limits, so you need to be super assertive when testing and getting the best results. So I suggest that you just start with those, but keep browsing because there are tools coming up all the time.
And for video, they're using one particular, or you integrate results from a few different tools together?
We work with different tools. We work with sometimes Firefly has good results, pretty realistic humans, not so beautiful like Midjourney. If you really refine your prompts, you can get realistic results on Midjourney as well. And you can use Kyber, Runway, those type of tools to animate and create footage, not just the statics.
How do you integrate with the UA team? How do you make sure that you deliver them what they exactly need?
So I can take it. The UA team definitely needs to share the insights of how the creatives that are still running are performing, right? So this will be key for the creative team to understand what's working, what's not working, and we analyze many metrics like IPM, CTRs, CPC, conversion rate from click to install, install to pay, and so on, right? So the UA team runs and thinks about the structure and how to launch those creatives. They share the insights to the creative team, and then it's the creative team who is thinking about which action and what's the roadmap to take, basically.
And do you have suggestions, how to prompt AI to avoid very weird results, or like, any kind of best practice around that?
Study, learn, try to test as much as possible. Keep in mind the credit part about the AI tools. The credits are limited, and you're gonna need a lot of credits to learn. As I said, the learning curve is more like a roller coaster instead of a curve. So read as many blogs as possible.
I understand, like, what is the point generate AI creative with the gear on the beach if the app does not support such content? You have such content, yeah, in that app?
I mean, ideally, we don't really like fake ads, right? So if we suggest and produce a specific image or ad or video, then we expect the people or the users to be able to find such content in the app. Otherwise, yes, you will get higher CTRs, but definitely low quality users because they won't install the app or they won't pay, basically.
And I want to add something that one time I was talking to Luis de la Cámara from Rovio, Sega now, and we were talking about what's the risk that you're going to take to make a point. Sometimes you don't need to actually have that, and you can take a risk, a small risk, to understand what's going to be the benefit for your app. So maybe, as I said, there's people that doesn't like puppies. We know that they don't have a soul, but they might like architecture. So that's a small risk to take to understand what's the best way to improve your product.
Aren't those results for Storybeat the outcome of being able to test multiple variants rather than being better than manually created ads? Yeah, so I understand, like, finally with those variants you were able to deliver better results. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And it depends on what the creative team is producing, right? So these should be aligned with your own roadmap of production, right? So once you identify the hook, the structure that Peter was sharing before, hook, body, and the end card, basically. Once you identify what you want to tackle, then you will be able to improve performance. And if you haven't identified yet, then you can use AI to identify them, basically, right? So it's either or. In Storybeat's case, we focused on a specific angle, basically.
And that's actually follow up that question. Like, if we have like those two ways to really create those creatives, let's kind of explore different areas, like different creatives line, different ideas versus like crafting and pushing very down specific idea to like try different variations. From your experience, like where this AI is kind of more useful, and where actually when are you using that more often in this case?
Well, the Storybeat case, it's a great example because in their case, they were focusing on how beautiful were the reels that their app could produce. And all of their ads were focusing specifically on showing the results or a little bit of the UI, the app's UI and UX. But in this case, once we tested this, we realized that there was an opportunity to start incorporating creators, which is something that they weren't doing before. So.
Maybe last question, like, is that AI going to kill creative agencies?
I hope it doesn't.
No. Did you miss the part where I said that humans are still important? AI is kind of dumb. It's not that smart.
Otherwise, it would be a very bad answer, right?
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for the great